Welcome, everyone, to another fantastic episode of Double Booked. Tonight's guest has crafted a story that drips with atmosphere, a masterclass of world building with darkness, death, and the haunting weight of legacy. He's a storyteller who blends myth, faith, and the monstrous into something deeply human. Please join me in welcoming the mind behind the shadows, the weaver of worlds, both divine and the damned, the one, the only, Tim McKay. How are you doing, my friend?
Very good, thanks. You always give the best intros out of anyone I've seen.
Oh, I appreciate it. You're making me blush. I
I will
appreciate it,
take
buddy. I
it.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, I put it. It's fun. Anytime I go through and connect with someone to go through and do an interview, that's when I start working on it.
Mhm.
So it's like I need like multiple days to go through, and then I start like thinking of just ridiculous stuff I can go through. I'm like, all right, how can I go through and make this one different than the previous one? So it's a lot of fun for me. I have a blast doing those.
They're perfect. Yeah,
Thanks,
and
buddy.
that was very
I,
nice. I will
yeah,
take it.
I'll send you a copy of it so you can
Yeah, I
take
need
it
a
and
copy. I'll
put
post it
it
on
on
all
the
my.
wall. Yeah,
Yeah,
let everyone know. It's just like this is me.
I'll get it framed in a certificate style. Yeah, right on the
That'd
wall
be cool.
behind me.
I'll sign it.
Oh,
It'll
that
be
should be
fun.
really funny.
It'll
Yeah,
be fun.
I'll send it to you for a signature. Oh
Oh
man.
man. So we have some awesome people in the chat. I want to go through and say hey, and then I want to jump into your fantastic story. So let's jump in. We have I clicked on the great JA. How's it going, buddy? You are stalking him. He has a restraining order out against you, so it's
He,
fun.
he cracked the joke I was going to crack before I could because I was going to say, I realize you're in Australia, but,
The fantastic Alan
Hello.
Holmes. Hello, my friend.
Andy Ann.
Hey,
Howdy,
Jane.
Ann.
How's it going, buddy? So Tim, I am so impressed with your first story into the horror genre. I thoroughly loved this story, and I want to go through, like we talked about before we jumped on the live. I have some non-spoiler for people who have not, for some reason, haven't gone through and read or listened to it because the audiobook it's officially out, or is it coming
It's
out?
it is done as of yesterday. So knowing ACX, if we're really lucky, end of the month, more likely or early December is when it'll be out.
Okay, perfect, perfect. I need to get some people a copy of it. Um,
I will have review copies available. So
Awesome. Yeah, I need to have. There's a few people that I know in my personal life that all they do is listen to audiobooks. And I'm like, there's
mhm.
so many good ones that aren't just audio. And they go, if they're good enough, they will be audio. I'm like, that's not how this works, but okay.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I keep trying to push, I keep buying them physical books, and they go, that's nice, and they put it on their shelf, and that's all they do with it.
never touch it.
Yeah, they never touch it. So I really want to push them this book. Do you want, for those that aren't familiar, before we jump into you and specifics about your story, do you want to go through and give us a little bit of a just a elevator pitch for your story?
Yeah, I mean, the very condensed version is that this is a horror fantasy novel about a failed father and a former priest who is trying to save his people. They're a secluded people living in exile from a dark god. So you've got hints of slasher, horror, and mystery combined with supernatural and even some cosmic horror. In a very rich fantasy setting, mostly set within an imperial capital, kind of going for a gothic horror vibe with that. And it's flintlock fantasy, so you've got some cannons and muskets and things like that, and things spiral out of control very quickly. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it goes intense and chaotic so fast and so much fun. It is a total blast. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Flintlock Fantasy. I don't feel
Mhm.
like it gets as much of a love as I feel like it should be. So I
Yeah.
really do. One second, I'm sorry. Oh,
Is your AC again?
My AC again. All
Yeah.
right, it's turned back on. Yeah. It's just I'm in a box
Hmm.
in the backyard. So I'm actually in a shed in the
Oh,
backyard.
okay.
So like if this thing goes out, I'm gonna start sweating and I'm gonna look ridiculous. So I need that thing to stay on or I'm not gonna make it.
What's
Um
the weather like where you are right now?
it is right now it is 47 here.
Okay, I mean that's chilly, isn't it? This is
It's
me
chilly,
and
but I'm in a box, man.
oh, so it still gets very hot.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
yeah,
gets hot in here.
fair,
Yeah, so it's yeah, it's no if I could open the door, but we'd be having nothing but bugs be flying in. Like
fair.
so I would rather deal with the heat than deal with like these insects flying and attacking me
Fair.
for
We're
the
at that time of year here in Canada where now we have snow. It's not it's cold, but not, not crazy cold yet. But enough that you kind of have to play around with the temperature throughout the day or it gets way too cold and then radically hot and then anyways, what can you do? I love it.
see the coldest it gets here is 30s.
Okay. I would have to do the conversion.
Yeah. So
Uh
yeah,
because
it's
Celsius here, yeah, here
yeah. It doesn't snow. It doesn't snow here.
fair. Yeah, we would get negative 30 Celsius
Mm-mm.
here.
No, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Nope.
Snow literally higher
Yeah.
than your vehicle, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-mm. No.
pretty
Mm-mm. No, we get some ice, like a little tiny bit of ice,
little
and
frost.
then everything shuts down. We're like, "Oh, I guess we're not going anywhere today." So
Yeah.
that's how it is here, which is perfect. I love it. I love it. Um, so I want to jump into your background a little bit because I'm really curious on your lead up. What got you into storytelling, and what made you decide like, hey, this is the time I want to go through and actually put pen to paper and put my stories out there.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, the buildup has been a long one to finally starting. I really only, with the exception of when I was 10 years old and attempted very briefly, I'm talking maybe 2 pages of an attempt at writing fantasy, and it came out like every 10-year-old's version of a Lord of the Rings type style story, right? Exactly what you would expect, just not that good, not that polished. I think the unfortunate thing is I had people in my life who immediately told me, "Yeah, nope, not for you. Not this is not where you're headed." And being a little on the gullible side at that time in my life on a few different levels, I was just kind of like, "Oh, I guess that's that." I think like a lot of people who, when thinking about writing and authorship, think of it as something you either have or you don't. Uh,
Hmm.
I wish someone had told me, no, this is a skill. Put some practice in and learn to tweak it and edit it. Read more. That was right around the time I was diving into reading. So if you'd asked me even 1 or 2 years later, I guarantee it would have come out better. But just the way life went, I dove into other interests, but I kept reading voraciously. So I'm talking Lord of the Rings, Del Toro Quest, Master and Commander. Very young, I was diving into the heaviest things I could find.
Oh.
So mostly fantasy, some historical fiction. Later, I started diving into the heavy hitters like Les Mis by Victor Hugo or Count of Monte Cristo, two of my absolute favorites. Taliesin by Stephen R. Lawhead,
Mhm.
kind of peak historical fiction meets fantasy meets I don't know, just all these all these major influences. But again, it was this ethereal, they can do it, I probably can't thing. Dove into school, dove into fighting and ministry and all of that. So 4 years of school, did some ministry in Montreal, whole other part of my life, and that's an even much longer story. And ultimately realized that wasn't for me. Went back to school, and that's where I started toying with writing, because I was studying history. I had a mind to hopefully take that on to a master's and then a
Mhm.
PhD, really dive in and just ingest all of this amazing history, keep learning, keep growing. Um, real thing is, living here in Ottawa, as far as work goes, very hard to find history related work unless you become a professor out of the gate. So I was looking into government work. And we were talking about this before the show. I realized very quickly with government work that is not for me. So I do not know why I then did a master's in public policy. I think I thought I'd qualify for better government work. Maybe it's better with more money. No, that's not how it works. If you're miserable with not much money, you'll be miserable with more money and you'll be doing more of the stuff that made you miserable. So long story short, I realized that was not for me. But through my policy program, I started studying uh, economics and marketing. And believe it or not, it was marketing that finally pushed me over the edge because it was just the concept of copywriting in particular, of writing in a way that is persuasive and that causes people to make buying decisions. I know that sounds like the weirdest segue to writing fiction ever, but for
Mhm.
me, it just did something in my mind. It was treating writing, even on a even just for advertisements or even the way you craft policy in a way to make it appealing to the people it impacts. Something about that made me start to treat writing as a skill that I could learn. And at the same time, I was an editor for journals in the universities I was at, both student and higher level PhD and professor level journals. So around that time, I realized, why don't I actually go back to this thing I like doing and just give it a chance? So I took a writing program at the main college here in Ottawa, and it was split down the middle, half business marketing writing and half creative writing. And so I dove into both, gave creative writing a chance finally, and realized I really like this. I've wanted to do this my whole life. Why don't now that I'm getting training to do it, why don't I start training that muscle and see what comes out the other side? So that was about 3.5 years ago. And once I started, I caught the bug. And some people these days call me a machine because I just keep putting things out, but I can't stop. So that's how I got to where I am now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you've literally been reading since you can remember going
Yeah.
through and reading. That's awesome. I never got that bug
Mm,
until I got older. So I read a few things as a kid, but I was more enthralled with visual type of entertainment, like movies and TVs and stuff
mm,
like that growing up. So that's what I was obsessed with. And then that obsession, because I used to be that person who would watch every show, every movie, and like if second it came out, I knew it, I watched it, I was ready to talk about it. But then that obsession moved into books, and like I
mm.
completely stopped this side of the house. Like my entertainment of watching shows stopped in 2020. I'd not seen anything new since 2020
Wow.
on the television, movies, like other than kids shows. So like
Huh,
my
okay.
obsession completely moved over that way. But you've listed a bunch of stuff that's on my list. The reason I brought that up was not just
Mm.
a yap about my
My
stuff.
life history. Yeah.
Yeah, but you mentioned Count of Monte Cristo, and that's on my list because
Mm.
I adore that movie, with,
You're talking the Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce one?
yeah,
Yeah. That
love
is
that one.
that is up just in movies, that is up there in probably my top maybe 5. Like,
Mhm,
I've watched that movie dozens of times, if
mhm.
not more.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep, that
right there.
that movie definitely touched me as a kid, like, I was like, "Oh my goodness, I can't stop." And so I'm curious, am I gonna have that same kinda love with the book? Which took me
Mm,
forever to get to it. I've owned it, it's been on the top of my shelf forever, but it's one of those things, not only is it thick, but I'm like, "Am I gonna love it as much?" Like, I truly love this story so much that I'm like, "Man, if I read the book and it doesn't hit as hard or if not better than the movie did for me growing up, is it going to deter how much I love this story?" But
mm.
everyone I talk to, every single person says it is fantastic. I need to go through and read it. So I'm 100% going to read it in 2026. It's just
Oh, so you still
finding.
haven't read it. Okay,
I
yeah,
still have not. I've not cracked it open once. I've not read one word because I'm like, man, it's like I have too much love for this story. But I think it's time. I think I'm going to read it.
See, around the same time in my life, I had this experience with 3 separate books, and I think that kind of insulated me from any disappointment when it comes
Mhm,
to differences between books and movie and adaptations. I find it doesn't bother me, even if one is remarkably worse than the
mhm,
other. It's never really bugged me. Some people get really worked up about it. I don't know. So I mean, because around that time, I watched Lord of the Rings before reading the books. Then went to but I had already read The Hobbit before
mhm,
seeing Lord of the Rings, anyways.
mhm,
And so I watched Lord of the Rings, especially for a 10-year-old kid. Oh, 10 to 12 were the years that those 3 came out, and those were just life changers. Like,
mhm,
just those are incredible movies. Then I went to the books, loved them, remarkably different, Not everyone who watches the movies will like the books, and not everyone who likes the books will like the movies, and that's okay.
Hmm.
But then around that same time too, it might have even been it was around 2000, 2001, I think, that Master and Commander came out. If you've seen that one, Russell
Hmm.
Crowe and
Yep.
Paul Bettany, just incredible movie, and that made me get into those books. And those books are dense. That's dense historical fiction. It's amazing, but not everybody will like that. And it was fun catching things in the books they snuck into the movie because they cover 13 books worth in a single movie.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, they don't cover the plot of 13 books, but they sneak things
Mhm.
in from, and it was a very well done movie. Uh, but again, not everyone who reads one will like the movie, or not everyone who likes the movie will like, anyways. And then same thing, Count of Monte Cristo. And so same thing with Count of Monte Cristo. I saw the movie and that made me have to go read the book. And I loved pushing myself through the book. Very different story.
Mhm.
Uh, the heart of it is there for sure, but some of the differences are big enough that it'll hit you a little. But that's the point. It hits you differently, but it like
Mhm.
there's a reason it has stuck in the public mind since its conception. It's just an incredible book.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
highly recommend.
Yeah, and that's what I keep hearing about it, and I feel like it's time. I feel like I'm matured enough as a reader. Again, just started reading.
Mm,
It's only been 5 years since I've
fair. Yeah.
been actively reading. So it's like I've been trying to catch up on all these older books, and Tolkien was one that I just read a few years ago, and it was good. It was different, like you said, from the movies.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that I was like, "Wow, this was not in the movies at all," and I had so much fun with it. But then there was other parts I'm like, "Man, this does not hit the same
Mm,
as parts of the movies."
yeah.
Specifically, I'm talking about Return of the last book, where we spent, like, spoiler, uh, like, this chunk of the book just saying goodbye to everybody. Drove me up the
Mm,
wall. I pushed myself through because 'cause I'm like, "I need to finish to see what else happens." Like, "No, we're just saying bye."
yeah.
And no one warned me. I feel like if someone warned me, like, "Hey, like, the ending is kind of rough. Just mentally prepare yourself." Um, so
I mean, you say that, but well, so with the exception of the fact that they don't include the final Shire battle in
that
the
that
in the
was too
movie,
cool. That was too cool. I wish they would have done that.
that would have been cool in the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah. So with the exception of them excluding that, they do give some. Like, I still remember seeing Return of the King the first time in the theater, and everyone, the screen goes black, everyone gets up, and then this goes back on to the next scene, everyone sits back down, and then the next scene, and then it goes from Frodo being recovered to the top of Minas Tirith to the coronation, and that ends with everyone bowing to the hobbits. You're like, oh, it's so good, oh my gosh, everyone's in tears, and then the screen goes black and everyone gets up. Nope, that's not there were like 5 false endings in that freaking movie. So that was the longest movie ending I've ever seen in my life. So you almost wonder. Anyways, I don't. They did that because they had to. There were so many loops you had to give justice
Mhm.
to in
Yeah.
closing. But I mean, in that way, they kept the
It
spirit of a long, annoyingly long ending.
that's true. I'll give it to I'll give it to them. They definitely went through and did that. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
We have a few other friends that jumped on. I want to go through and say hey, and then I'm really curious on the your your transition. What got you into thinking of like, hey, I want to jump into the horror genre? So I want to go
Mhm.
through and ask about that. But we have a few people that jumped on. Um, we have Ro. How's it going, Ro?
I don't know.
We have Adam. How's it going, Adam? Doing well. Grifton, he says, if you see a bug in Cannon Winter, leave him alone. Yeah, I guarantee you he's tougher than me.
Yeah, I'd be
100%.
scared if anything.
100%. Jose, how's it going,
Howdy,
buddy?
Jose.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, the legend himself,
Howdy, Mike.
Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, so horror. What made you decide, like, hey, I want to put my toe into this horror genre? What made you decide make that leap from going from just fantasy to horror fantasy blend?
I think it's funny. When I was in my writing program, I joined a group of horror writers, and it was part of a course we had. It was mostly related to blogs, but we dedicated our blog to horror movies. I've been into horror for years, probably since around 2015, 16. Before then, I was reading some horror, but I really got into watching it, especially after a certain point in my life.
Mhm.
So I want to say about 10 years now. Uh, but yeah, so it's funny. I read more horror in the past, and I'm finally getting back into it now that I'm in the indie space because I've made friends with so many amazing uh, indie horror authors. Like Yan in the chat there is just
Mhm.
one of the best I know, and he can write. That guy can write,
Mhm.
and just a gem of a human being too. So I part of it was just the people I was spending time with, and the things I was ingesting. I think slowly, without me maybe realizing, pushed me in a certain direction. But I've said this,
Oh.
Andrea, my first book. I went into that very intentionally wanting elements of horror in it without it being a full horror book. So dark fantasy is the right title for it. Specifically for that one, I was aiming more for like creature horror. Little scenes here and there where you get some of it was supernatural horror later in the book, but early on I wanted creatures. I wanted you got the Zovachem, almost zombie like monsters with claws chasing after characters, and then you have the wretched dragon and in the beginning chasing after the main character in these caves and ruins. Uh, like I was very much going for kind of like crawl. If you've seen that with the gators and
Mhm.
a really good creature horror movie, things like that. I like those nature horror flicks. So that was I was already of a mind to include horror with fantasy because to me, there's no better way to portray evil than through horror. If anything, I think you failed to depict evil in its real nature if you don't have some fear along it. Like Lord of the Rings, that's where the movies I think really shone. Is there are like as a kid too, I'll still never forget certain scenes in those movies that scared the Jesus out. I mean, I remember Jurassic Park scared me as a kid. And then I went to Lord of the Rings, and even just Bilbo's face, that first jump scare you get when he
Mhm.
reaches for the ring like
Mhm.
that will never that's permanently imprinted on my brain, like
Mhm.
that made you feel the temptation and the corruption of this sweet old man who is desperate for the like that is I wanted certain scenes to stick with people, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
like it's
The thing is, you say it, and I automatically like it popped in my head of
yeah.
exactly that face
That
that
face,
popped
like, and
out.
they did it so well. The makeup, like his teeth turned from white to black. Like his eyes get sunken. Like they did it so incredibly well. Uh, and like that's kind of what I wanted to bring into my books is if I'm showcasing evil, I want you to feel the terror that these characters are feeling. So when it came to writing a prequel, which ultimately this book was, but I wanted it to stand on its own. And part of that was because I realized early on exactly the story I wanted to tell. And I realized this isn't a tragedy because there are tragic elements,
Mhm.
and there's a tragic arc to it all. But no, this is horror. This has to be horror. I was just where I knew exactly how this had to go down, and it was the only genre that fit. Even though that was kind of stepping away from my original, like the series itself is dark flintlock fantasy with a lot of
Mhm.
adventure and action, and this it's set in that world. It sets the stage for the story to follow, but it had to be told this way, I thought. Um, and that was my mentality. I dove into more horror reading. I even bought some textbooks and started going through, okay, what are the norms of the genre? What things can I stretch to still fit my world? And fantasy and horror together. That was a trickier one, was blending the genres. I had a lot of fun. But yeah, it was a journey for sure.
That's awesome. So what kind of horror do you normally enjoy? You said you're a big fan of watching horror movies and reading horror. Um, what what avenue of horror do you enjoy? Is it like the gore horror, the psychological horror, or a little bit of everything? What do you?
It varies for me. It really has. It has jumped from spot to spot over the years. Because, like I said, for a while,
Mhm.
it started with kind of disaster flicks and turned into creature horror.
Mhm.
Like I'm trying to think of better examples than just Crawl or Jaws or
Like, is it just the animal stuff? Like,
no, but that's very much where it started for me, and it progressed from that to what would be The Visitation was a really good horror book and movie. That's by Frank Peretti.
Mm-hmm.
That was more of a religious horror, but it was actually very, very well done. Like still I recommend it to anyone I know. It's just good horror. It really hits home. But then I think from there I went to things like I never watched much of the Omen movies, but I did watch Damien, which was a TV
Mm-hmm.
series, kind of
Mm-hmm.
stretching off that way. And the main, I always forget his name. I don't know if you saw it, but
I saw the movie. I don't recall seeing the Damien
yeah, so
TV
they
show.
made a show, and it was with the guy who played Arthur in the Merlin TV series. If you ever saw that, The Adventures of Merlin. Um,
Oh, Bradley James.
yes, yeah.
Bradley James, yeah.
And he actually does really well. That series is
Mhm,
dark and it's fun. That was good, kind of supernatural, religious themed
mhm,
horror, but very dark, very twisty. The Exorcist, love The Exorcist.
mhm,
I don't always love possession horror, but the Exorcist movies, some of them more than others, really like. The TV series, it used to be on Netflix. I don't think it is anymore. It's very hard to find, but that was good. So it's again, it's gone all over the map for me. Yeah, zombie horror with very few exceptions doesn't do. Oh no, I shouldn't say that. I read an excerpt like the other day where I was like, oh, I could get into this. So that's is he still in the chat? Yeah, yeah, SS
uh,
Fitzgerald. Uh, Sean has
mhm.
some fun stuff. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
Sean's book's fun. Yeah, I it depends. So for me, my books and my movies is different to kind of horror I like.
hmm,
I enjoy more in reading post-apocalyptic stories from like a
okay,
horror perspective. From a movie side, I agree. I lean towards more of the possession
hmm,
type of movies. I feel like those hit super hard when you're watching it with a visual perspective. You get that music, you get that intensity that I've maybe not just found that right book that has
yeah.
that can do the same thing to it. So yeah, that's why I was curious if for you, if one outweighs the other, or if it's like pretty much, hey, I'm fine with any of them across the board. So,
Where I
um,
think the crossover for
mhm,
me, like I'm with you. I can like some of these don't translate well into
mhm,
books, or at least I haven't found any where I think where it does for me is mystery. I
mhm,
so I have a weird love of the Scream franchise. It's just
yes,
that is so up
mhm,
my alley, and including the TV series, which
mhm,
does not to me doesn't get enough love. I thought they did a great job. It wasn't perfect, but it was well done. Um, and that kind of vibe, that good slasher horror. It's not so much the gore for me. I don't really like. I'm not a big Saw fan. That kind of that just doesn't do it. I don't know. If anything, it kind of bores me. I need mystery and
mhm,
suspense, and that was the big thing for me when it came to writing my book. That was the big principle
mhm,
for me was there are parts of the story that I have to tell the way they are, uh, that might not feel horror-ish, but the thing that to me helped me maintain that genre and that
mhm,
expectation was the excuse me, the suspense and the thrill throughout. So even when there's a lull in the action, there's still the sense of incoming dread,
mhm,
dropping little hints that things are about to get worse. You think things are okay, but just brace yourself. You know what's coming. I've
mhm,
you know what's coming. At no
mhm.
point in this, there's twists, big twists, but I try to project. You know, it's just, there's
You're on the edge of your seat the whole
yeah,
time of
yeah.
like something could come around the corner at any moment within. Um, I do. Sean has a question. If what about the thing? Have you seen the thing?
Yeah, yeah, like, I love The Thing. That's kind of that combination of okay, yeah, like, it's almost like sci-fi slash creature horror slash mystery. I mean, that's perfect.
Mhm,
The Alien movies, love. Predator, not always as much. Some of them are better than others,
mhm,
but I love most of the Alien movies, including the new ones. Anyways,
mhm.
don't get me started on movies. This is what
No,
happens.
I agree 100%. I went through it and watched, not the newest Alien movie, not the newest show. but the one before that. So 2 movies back, I ended up
So there
going through
was
and watching
Prometheus, and then
Predator.
there was
The
Covenant.
I'm sorry, the Predator movies.
Oh, the
I saw
Predators.
the Predator one. So,
Mm,
um, it just I was because I love that. I loved growing up with Alien and Predator. Um, I truly enjoy Alien scared me so much as a kid, but
mm,
one of those things that scared me, but I could had to constantly go through and watching it over and
yeah,
over again. And then Predator, it was fun, but it wasn't as scary. It didn't have that any moment around the corner thing like Alien had.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll switch gears. If not, this is not talking about movies. So you mentioned this, and I was going to bring this up as well. So I think it's a perfect segue into this. You are a writing machine. If people don't know, you are a unstoppable force since you started going through and writing. And I'm curious, what does your writing process look like? So I know you have so much going on. We went through and talked about a bunch of it prior to jumping on the live.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what is your writing process? Is it just like whenever you have a moment, or do you have a set time every day, set word count you want to go through? I'm really curious on what your process looks like.
See, from what lets me do a lot of that other stuff is that I write in sprints. It's just what works for
Mhm,
me, and some of that was from previous experience, both in work and school, just figuring out what rhythm can I manage and how can I get a lot done in limited time at a consistent pace.
mhm,
And I brought that into writing. So, yeah, in my case, what that means is I will usually a month to a month and a half, maybe 2. I've only stretched it to 2 months here and there. But for the most part, if I'm writing, I write for a solid month and a half straight, where every day, mornings, I will wake up early and I will just go, 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 go. Put in the hours, get the words on the page, think deeply, dive in, tweak as I go. Usually, I'll start the morning off with reading, maybe not all of what I wrote the previous day, but a good chunk to get back into it, and then I'll write till I drop essentially, and then I'll use the rest of the morning and the afternoon to do work, so whatever I have going on at the time. It's editing work, judging work. We can get into that, but
mhm,
a lot of stuff that keeps me busy. And then at night, late night usually after I've read, so I'll try and read every night, just to keep the inspiration coming.
mhm.
And then I'll use my late nights. Weirdly enough, that's when it works for me to think creatively, to brainstorm for the next day, the next morning's writing session. So I'll jot notes, but I'll be pacing around. I have like a basement space, like almost right under where I am now, and I'll use that. It just works for whatever reason. I can't do that here for whatever reason. This is my office where I am right now, and this is where I write and I work, and I can't do as much creative thinking here
Mhm.
for whatever reason. I do that elsewhere, and then I come back. So I shout the ideas, come back in the morning, put them on the page,
Wow.
um, and then when the sprint ends, again, that's a month and a half. Sprint ends, look over what I've done, but then dive into usually more intensive work periods. So I'll take on more editing clients during that time. I will take on more judging. I'll do more teaching. So like yeah, that's the other thing. I teach at the college here as well. The
Wow.
same writing program I took, they asked me to be a professor there, so now I do that. Um, yeah, and so that is more flexible. Those off periods will sometimes be shorter, sometimes longer. It depends on one, how exhausted I am from my writing sprint, but two, just on making enough money to keep going uh, and how long I've committed. So it can be based on the length of the books that I'm editing, or it can be based on the contract for teaching. And then once things quiet down a little bit and I've saved up enough, then I dive back into writing. And
Wow.
yeah,
So yeah, you have a set like boom, boom, boom. Exactly. You found your routine. That's awesome.
yeah.
So all right, from a structure perspective, and then we have some friends. I want to say hi to them in just a minute. From a structure perspective, so I get what you do from a sprint. You spend about that month and a half, and then you have your laps around your basement where you're brainstorming the next day's idea, which I love. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
That you have your writing space and your creative thinking space
Yeah.
within your house. So that's very cool. But when it comes to the structure of your story, is it just when you're thinking about it and then you kind of just free writing it, you're kind of just you're pantsing the whole thing? Or do you spend some time prior to your sprint that you plot out, I'm not saying the whole book, but plot out the big beats to your story? I'm just curious, how do you go from a structure perspective?
Yeah, no, you've already hit on it. I used to be more of a not a strict pantser, but
Mhm.
I had a general idea of the story arc in my head, and then I would pants almost the whole thing. That was my early approach, and that is almost completely not the case anymore. I'm very flexible with my plotting, but during those off periods between writing sprints, that's when I do my plotting. So I'll be thinking about the story to come for quite a while as I build up to it. I'll be taking notes during that time too. So the creative time, late night creative time, that stays throughout my off periods. That's the
Okay.
one consistent, and that if anything, I get more done in those periods in my off sprints than in my on sprints. And so, or uh, like the other thing too is during those off periods, that's when I do my editing. That's when I not just for others, but for myself.
Mhm.
And that's when I do my audiobook work for the most part. So I'm technically on one of those right now, or coming off of it finally. Uh, and yeah, so while like for example, when I'm doing an audiobook for one book, for the book I just finished writing and editing, for audiobook in particular, when I'm recording the audiobook, or when I'm editing the audiobook in particular, the ideas just come flooding for the next book. And so I'm plotting half the time. Whenever I need a break from editing, okay, oh, take out that little beep and take out that little breath and oh, that word somehow got misread. Let's redo that. Between the heavy editing, I'll be adding notes to my plot for the next book. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So it makes it much easier because then when my sprint starts, it just comes super easy. That happened for both Skyfold and for the Father of Shadow and Death. When it came time to sprint through those, it was just a straight shot. Um,
I
yeah.
think what's impressive with you is you set up your, because again, we talked about this um off the live, and then you mentioned it also that the route your career was going took a big pivot to where
Mm,
you are now. And I think it's very impressive that you went through and set your life up where what you're doing every day, you're editing, you're writing, you're being a professor, you're judging works, you're constantly thinking about writing and you're
yeah.
constantly going through and in that headspace. So it's not like where a lot of people I've gone through and spoken with, they have to really have two parts of their brain going. Am I dealing with my day to day, my my job that I'm working, or am I on my creative space? And I feel like you found that perfect medium
Yeah.
where you can go through and stay in your creative space. Yes, you're going and leaning into your professional route with the editing, but you're still creating and having those thoughts within your head, which is then keeping you um keeping you in the right momentum to keep going with pushing these out so quickly. So I think that's very impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like some of that just happened where some of it has been I'll call it excuse me, I will call it cultivated luck, not just pure luck. You kind of have to create the opportunities and then things happen. It's been one
Mhm,
of those situations. Some of these opportunities have only come because of my presence on social media, which I
mhm.
wouldn't have had if I hadn't had some time learning marketing beforehand. If you had asked me 10 years ago, would you ever be a semi, big person on Twitter, now X, I would have said, I hate that stuff, and now here I'm like, this is great. I love it. I get it now. I get the appeal. Used properly and staying
Mhm,
off, the feed from garbage, it actually becomes a
mhm,
really fun opportunity builder,
mhm,
not just for selling, but for connecting and learning and
mhm.
growing in whatever you want to do. But for writing, oh my, is it a perfect medium?
Yeah,
Um,
staying in the writing section of X,
yeah,
is so nice, and it's so yeah, there's some things that people say crazy things, but more times than not, it's nice and people are awesome.
yeah,
So yeah, I cannot agree more because I was on X, or it was Twitter back then a long time ago, and I had to get off. I was like, "You guys are all
yeah,
crazy. I'm done with this." And then
yep,
yeah, I got kind of told, was like, Just come back, stay in this lane, and then we should be fine. So yeah, it's been
Yeah.
fantastic. So yeah, I can't agree more. We have some awesome people, more people that jumped on. El,
Yeah.
fantastic author. Oh my, and one of the underrated narrators out there. El
Mm,
does a fantastic job as a
yeah.
narrator. The awesome
Yeah.
J.R. Carroll, another fantastic author, and then Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch is in the
Mark.
house.
Beat me to it this time.
And then we have a fantastic question from Julio Carlo.
Julio.
Um, was it hard to make the connection between the father of Shadow and Death and the rise of Dresca? I think that's a
Mm.
fantastic segue.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, because for those who haven't read The Fall of Sylvandria, Rise of Dresca was originally published on its own, and that's part one of The Fall of Sylvandria. Yeah, so I worried going in. My worry about writing a prequel, about writing prequels after you've already written the first. Now my worry is gone because this was easy, super fun, super easy. I worried going in. I thought this is going to be so hard to keep everything consistent. And what if I write something that totally overrides the some of the facts? That was the biggest thing, avoiding contradictions and avoiding introducing things that then someone will read Fall of Sylvandria and think, that wasn't there. What are you talking? I kind of, on the one hand, I I had already set the story up with the Fall of like I already had a lot of these things in mind when I wrote Fall of Sylvandria. If anything, I wish I'd put more in. I That's a whole story in and of itself of the creative decisions you make and what you decide to include and what you decide to exclude when you've already done the world building in advance of writing a story. Um, some of those decisions, what I cut and what I left in, I now regret. I'm like, oh, this would have been great. But you move forward. You always have to move forward.
Mhm.
So I'm not worried about the contradictions. I think I did a really good job uh, maintaining the world while also adding to it and building it out. And I was confident too because I was building it out in a context that hadn't been visited in the main series yet. It's going to come back, so that's a spoiler. Part of the reason I wrote it was to build out a place that we're going to come back to in the series. Book 3. The other half, though, was I didn't worry about differences because that's part of the fun. And so, for those who have read The Father of Shadow and Death and The Fall of Sylvandria, like this, if I did it right, should radically change how The Fall of Sylvandria lands, especially, well, no, all of it really. This prequel was meant to totally spin your perception of what's going on in the main story. To me, that's the fun. So I didn't have to worry about contradiction because, or well, not about contradiction, but I didn't have to worry about the differences being glaring because that's the appeal. This was meant to put a much darker tint on the entire story to come. Um,
So, for someone that hasn't read either stories yet,
yeah.
would you recommend one over the other on starting first?
That is tough. That is a tough question to answer. I think the biggest reason it is hard to answer is because my writing has definitely evolved, and my
Mhm.
writing style was also consciously different in The Father of Shadow and Death. So part of that is just things I've learned in the time since. I mean, really, the opening sequences of The Fall of Sylvandria were written like 3 years ago, with the
Oh, wow.
exception of editing and changes I made before I republished through The Fall of Sylvandria. Like, it's in some ways it reads like something written by a new author 3 years ago, and it gets better as you go. And that's what I've been told consistently. I've been told the second half lands better, or the second part lands better than the first, and the third part lands better than both. So you really see a writer's progression through the book.
Mhm.
Whereas Skyfold was really me stretching myself and going to a new writing style and having fun with it. And I think, and just based on the reception, I think I did an okay job. And I loved it. So I kept that writing style, but then twisted it into the darkness of what you see in The Father of Shadow and Death. So if you've never read Skyfold and you've never read The Fall of Sylvandria, if you read The Father of Shadow and Death first, it will be really fun to see the continuity, to see the things in the Fall of Sylvandria that you're gonna be like, oh, I know this character. Oh, oh. You're gonna have a lot of oh moments, and that's by design. Um, so it could be fun, but just brace yourself for a younger author's writing. I think and that's how I would say do it, but go in with that caveat. If you do it the other way around, all those moments are going to come all at once at a very pivotal moment, and then you're going to have a really big in the Father of Shadow and Death. So if you like all your punches at once in one go, do it in that order. That would be my recommendation. I'm that kind of person. I like it all at once, so that's what I would do. But it really depends on what you think you can handle.
So I've read the Father. I read this was the first one, so I haven't read the other one. So I'm really I'm excited to have a bunch of the aha moments throughout the story.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, unless it spoils the whole story. I enjoy reading the lead up, the prequels first, regardless of when they came out, to follow the cadence of the story,
Yeah.
then lead up to the final arc. I do enjoy some flashbacks where we jump back and forth, but if I have the choice to go through, I like reading it personally from chronological order. So I'm glad that's the route I went. So I'm excited to jump in to have those moments before book 3 comes out within the series. So when did you say you're planning on doing book 3 is coming out?
Yeah, so where it stands right now, it might take longer than we'll see. Where it stands right now, the sequel to The Fall of Sylvandria, so technically book 2 in the series, but book 3 altogether. If I'm really, really good, I should finish drafting it by mid-January 2020, like coming up 2026. So then it really depends on editing and beta reading and the cover as well. There might so a lot of that depends on Joe's schedule. I'm actually going to be reaching out to him probably in 2 weeks to get that scheduled. I might even do a Kickstarter, in which case I would get more internal illustrations, things like that. So that could delay it further, but I'm hopeful that it will be out mid 2026. That would be the goal. I really want to push for June at the absolute late. I might get it well before then, but that would kind of be my ideal cutoff, June 2026.
All right. My only ask
Yeah.
for the Kickstarter, when you do it.
Yeah.
Because all right, I'm hoping she's not watching. Hopefully the wife's sleeping, because I got told to stop paying for Kickstarters, but I can't help it. Until the books show up, I'm like, where did this come from? I have no idea.
Yes.
So when you create your Kickstarter, I would, for me personally, if you allow a tier where someone can get all your books in the story. Because I there's like 1 or 2 Kickstarters that I've done that's like, if you need my previous books as well, here's them all. And I go, fantastic, I can get them all in one fail swoop, rather than going like, all right, well, I got to find this one, I got to make sure it's the same size. And it's like, just for people like me that just want to go through and get them all at one time, having that tier would be fantastic. So just throwing it out in the universe to you, and then whoever else is creating Kickstarters. Because I need to reach out to some people that's done Kickstarters. Like, hey, I got your Kickstarter. I don't own a physical copy of your other book. Or the size is the same. Like, I have too many questions, because nothing bothers me more than when the books are different sizes.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. Definitely, I'm going to just complain a little bit. I have the Last Kingdom series right here. I have them all. The last book, they're all the same size except the last book.
Oh no. Yeah, I have that with Wheel of Time, so I feel that.
It makes me want to get rid of this. But I love this series so much, well, I'm going to keep it, but it frustrates me.
Yeah. I wrestle with that. I mean, this is part of being an indie author, is a lot of it is experimenting and finding out what works. I have now settled on, like, there's no way I'm changing from this size. So I'm like, I've changed, I've tweaked my formatting and I've tweaked my sizing to, I think, what works really well for me. It reduces the amount of work I have to do, but also looks better. What I've done for The Father of Shadow and Death and Skyfold, they have the same size, same formatting. If I change to that font, I really don't want to use, there are reasons why, but the same font I used in the Fall of Sylvandria,
Mhm.
I've changed to a much better font. I'm getting much better reception for it. So in terms of physical copies, there are changes I have made that if I do make them, the book will be even a book of the same word count would be thinner, uh, considerably thinner. Um, so I kind of run. It's un, unless I size down by that half an inch, but
Mhm.
then I run into this exact problem with I don't want the books to look weird next to each other on a shelf.
Mhm.
So it's genuinely no matter what that's going to happen unless I make this book. It's not going to be 200,000 words though. It's going to be probably around the same length word count wise. So I could stick to the old font just for continuity's sake, but like that I think will get me in more trouble, ironically, from readers as opposed to collect. I wrestle with these decisions.
Well, you could go through and re-push it out when you do your Kickstarter. We do your Kickstarter saying,
The
"Hey,
two versions.
we're refonting everything. We're making everything streamlined, looking perfect across the board."
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's many different things you can do with it. But yes, 100%. I'm so glad you want to do a Kickstarter. I've mentioned this to multiple people. You should probably do a Kickstarter, and most
Mm,
people are like, "Nah, that seems like a lot." But I think you can do it. I think you can do it. I feel like the internal art's going to be amazing. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Maybe
mm.
a lot of fun. Um, so I want to jump in now to your to the story, non-spoiler. And I'm gonna do my best with asking the few questions that I have around this amazing story without spoiling anything. But of course, if I'm getting too far into the spoiler lane, push me back and just tell me to read the book again. So Trinity jumped on. How's it going, Trinity? Good seeing a friend.
Howdy, Trinity.
Um,
Actually, I have Trinity's book right here. It's what I'm finally. I'm so close. I'm so close, but I'm almost done reading Bloodbound. So
I've
half
heard
there.
amazing things about that. That's on my list.
Yeah.
My Kindle books. I have so many on there. It's like every time I look at it, I'm like, how like I can knock out a few Kindle books, like read what I own thing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I have like 200 plus books on this Kindle that I need to go through and read. So it's like, yeah, I have to prioritize. But Trinity's on that top list of like these I want to read in 2026. So we'll see when I actually have the time. It's going to be at the beginning of the year or the end of the year. So we'll find out. Um, all right, so jumping into the story, I'm curious. Braddock, our main guy, he he goes through and carries this guilt on his shoulders. He has this sense of duty, and I'm curious, what made you decide to tell the story through his eyes rather than someone else or a new character within this world?
Hmm. I mean, well, he is new. Yeah, even that is already hard to answer without spoilers because he is who he is. He is the father of Shadow and Death. There's no one else who would fit the story that needed to be told. Um, and he has the perfect perspective to watch the downfall of Saramai, the people who, because when you start the fall of Sylvandria, you see the closing battle. This really isn't a spoiler, and that's the point. Is you kind of know, regardless, where this story is headed in some
Mhm.
respects. This again, it's a dark spin on the chosen people trope. You know that these people have been singled out by this dark god, and you know that things are going in a dark
Mhm.
direction, and you're seeing that unfold, and you're seeing these dark turns that things take on political and social levels. And he is someone who, from the get-go, he's one of two people, that's semi-spoiler, who has been exposed to the real evil behind it all. The
Mhm.
evil that led to their exile to begin with, and the evil that is now trying to lure them to their destruction in the end. And you see that final cataclysmic destruction at the beginning of the fall of Sylvandria. So, so part of it was just his perfect position.
Mhm.
He knows the evil better than most. And his own tragedy, his own tragic life, and how it
Mhm.
unfolds and everything that happens very much mirrors the people that he's trying to protect and save, and failing on so many levels because he's such a flawed character himself. Um, yeah.
he has so much. He has a hard life. That man has a hard life,
Yeah.
and like I felt like I felt for this guy. One of my favorite relationships within this was Braddock's and his son. I thoroughly enjoyed um I'll just say their dynamics. I want to go through and spoil what those dynamics are. Um, but it was very compelling with a lot of emotional tension and a lot of moments that felt so real.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, how did you approach writing that kind of relationship to make it feel grounded in this horror world? I'm really like, because it felt like I was like, man, I know these people. I know what this person's experiencing from both sides, not just one or the other. It was like
Yeah.
I get what's like, I understand it. So I'm how did you get into that mindset? So that's what I'm curious about.
Well, that was fun to do because I mean that is part of horror. You won't feel the terror unless you feel empathy for who these characters are, unless you can get in their mindset. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think it makes you appreciate what they're going through more than just random person being chased by a guy with a knife. You know, it doesn't mean as much. Uh, so part of me going in knew this story had to be very, very character driven. I wanted to really get into these headspaces, especially Braddock's, but also his sons and also Selah's and Lucien's
Mhm.
and Alden's, and there's a whole lot of characters. I had a lot. I also worried. I toyed with maybe a few chapters from different perspectives, but ultimately I really decided to stick with Braddock's and seeing the story on the other side. I realized it actually became it was never hard to really get into the other characters' mindsets from his perspective,
Mhm.
which was really fun. And part of it too, part of what made it easy to do that is that I've known these guys. I've known many, like quite several, at the very least, I'm talking five, six, seven guys in my life that age who've had different roles in my life who very much fit the bill to different
Mhm.
degrees. Kind of that, upper middle aged, broken, some of them expressing that in almost a sense of defeat, but kindness and goodness, but then others who are very broken and miserable, arrogant, lustful, greedy. I'm talking, I've seen the slime of the earth and I've also seen gems, total gems, and all of them kind of having gone through similar arcs in their own lives and expressing similar almost symptoms, Mike Monroe.
I didn't mean to start laughing. It's just like I look at the chat sometimes and like they just
I
crack
can't
me
fit
up.
in. Yeah,
They
yeah,
crack me up.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
There you go. You guys finally got a cameo in my books. No, yeah. So some of it was from experience, and some of it was genuinely wanting to understand what those men in particular have gone through and what it's like. And in terms of the more vile ones, understanding what it's like for them too. Not to build empathy or not to build sympathy, but to make a real story, to make this feel earned, to make the
Mhm.
the tragedy and the horror feel not deserved, but certainly earned. This is a
Mhm.
broken man facing hard choices and also facing the consequences of his own actions and facing the consequences of what others have done. And so it's a very, it's meant to feel human in the full meaning of the word. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Y- Yeah. I was getting ready to say something, but I wrote down the notes. I'm gonna have to ask you later.
Okay.
Because there's a part. I know you mentioned this that if you read the Father of Shadow and Death after the fall, um, you get this one big what's going on moment, the WTF moment. But there was parts again. I just read the Father um, of Shadow and Death only, and I had a few moments in here where I'm like, I didn't see this coming.
Mm,
What is happening? Specifically, there's a part at the end. I think you might know what I'm talking about. If not, I'll mention it later. But that like that ending part, um, I was just like, "There's no way, no way." And then I'm going back. I'm like, "It makes sense."
Mm.
But I didn't see it coming, and I'm pretty like I feel like I'm pretty good at catching things. I've read a few books here and there. So yeah, I really love that where um that you get that aha moment, and they're
Yeah.
loads of fun. And I do want to jump in, Mark. This The Father of Shadow and Death is a prequel, so it just
This is
depends
what
on
you're looking for right
yeah,
here.
yeah, it
Yeah.
depends on what you want to go through and do. Do you want to go through and read it in chronological, or read the main one and jump back and go? So it just depends on what you prefer.
Yeah.
Um, I'm
It's meant that you can do either. And
yeah.
that was, and like I was talking about earlier, but yeah, you can read it in whichever order because they're kind of meant to stand separate, but this one will radically enrich the other. Either way, either way you read them. Like there are characters in the Fall of Sylvandria that if you didn't read it, you won't recognize. But they do make cameos. There are several cameos in this that become pivotal characters in the Fall of Sylvandria. So, um, whichever way you read it, there will be lots of aha moments. You'll be rewarded either way.
hmm And I can confirm. And then Lucas, hey Lucas, how's it going, buddy? Um, is that the same signature hat every time, or do you have collection of hats?
I have about three. One of them is slightly different, and then I have two that are basically the same. Yeah, so I alternate a little bit, but
Good, good
signature
question.
hat has
Good
to
question.
happen every time.
Yeah, you gotta have the hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, all right. I just have a few more questions, and it's really about themes and symbolism
Mhm.
within your story. And I don't want to get too deep with it. Um, because I feel like I've some things it could be spoilery if you get kind of too far into it. But I'm curious, at least from my perspective, I felt there was a thread of faith, corruption, and consequences really woven through not just the whole story, but really I felt it in almost every single chapter. Were there a moral, or really, was there a moral tension always center to this story, or did it kind of just start emerging on its own?
Both for sure. I mean, a lot of this, again, I had been planning in the
Hmm.
build up to actually writing it. So a lot of that was built in advance.
Hmm.
But then I'm always very flexible as I write. I'm always thinking and enriching the plot as I go as well. I'm never firmly attached to my original idea of where the story needs to go. And usually that results in a richer story with usually subplots get added as I go that in just add
Hmm.
character depth, add other characters that you know make the world feel lived in and add some richness. Um, I don't want to. It wouldn't be a spoiler, but I don't think this counts as a spoiler because I like to advertise. There's a mangy pup. Um, Skyur, the
Hmm.
mangy pup, was a not a late edition. Um, it's more I wanted his early appearance, but I actually didn't have much idea of him featuring later in the story, and then he just had to stay. I once I introduced him and had some things in mind, and then that tie I think like the dog ties in to one of the big twist at the end that I think
Hmm.
you're referencing, right? So
Hmm.
he actually became critical. He became a really fun way to show certain. Weirdly enough, this sweet, fun, playful dog became a way to showcase, and don't worry, the dog's fine. But he became a way to showcase another twisted form of the evil in this world that's hounding, Braddock's character and hounding the city and the world they're living in. It was just so it started as just this friendly encounter, and it turned into this companion, and again, almost humanizing a very hard to love at times character, the main character in particular. Interest like things like that. Even my own feelings on Braddock. Again, like I was trying to get into his headspace as I'm writing, more than I have with any other character, and that meant that there were times where myself I did not like this guy at all, and there were even though I knew what he was going through, and like and I again, it's not just people I've seen; it's even some of my own experiences woven in, just a few. I'd
Hmm.
never like to write myself too much into stories, but I had fun with him. Not a lot of his less desirable traits, I hope, but certainly some of his experiences I had fun with because personal experiences informed that. But it meant that themes of guilt and consequences of actions and uh, experiences with other people and things sidewinding you that you didn't see coming. I mean, like there were a lot of things in his life that as I'm writing, I went from loving him to hating him to loving him to hating him, and then the themes sort of pulled it all together into this coherent story that
Mhm,
like I had the overall arch. I knew where the story was going. I knew what had to happen, but yeah, a lot of the depth happens as you go, for sure.
mhm. So for you as the author, for someone who picks up The Father of Shadow and Death and they finish your story, what are you hoping that they take away from this specific story? Is there a certain feeling, or is
Mm.
there a certain idea, or is there a certain theme or tone? Is there something specific that you're hoping people get out of this story?
Yeah, I mean, beyond just the gravity of how small things can turn into cataclysm, like something, the smallest of decisions or even the smallest of encounters can have cataclysmic consequences. But beyond that, again, it's not about empathy. It is not about glamorizing or valorizing this very broken man. But that is at the heart of this is compassion isn't the right word. It's not. I don't think it's full enough. But at the heart of this is seeing humanity within the broken, and finding that humanity even when it is surrounded by filth. Um, and that was very much the heart of it. Again, it started with real people in my life who I wanted to see more clearly, and to find the good, and without ignoring the bad. I
Mhm,
can even tell you there are some of these people I never want to talk to again, and I hope the best for them. I do, but that's my point. Is I'm not trying to set aside the bad, but the
mhm,
message behind this is I think within seeing the humanity within others comes the ability to understand and to
mhm,
maybe prevent. I think a lot of what happens to Braddock is very preventable.
mhm.
In and that falls on us, not just him. That's maybe the heart of the story there.
Yeah. No, that's I love it because that's for me, that's what it was. It was understanding, and it was understanding, um, a lot of the characters, specifically Braddock, because he was the main person we went through and followed, but going through and understanding other characters' perspectives and why they chose to do what they went through and did within the story,
Mm,
irregardless of my perspective and my thought of should you be doing this. It was like, but in their mind they were like, this is what I need to go through and do, or this
yeah.
is my choice. So I understood them, and that's what I really love about this story and the way that you write characters is the understanding and understanding people's whys, even if there are people who I don't like at all,
Yeah.
but I understand them. And that's what pulls me into a story, is going exactly what you said. If I know these people, I've met them in real life, or someone I'm familiar with has these same kind of traits. And it's just getting that why behind it really goes a long way. So
Mm.
just big props to you. Loved your characters within this. Um, so we're at the point now where we're going to be doing our lightning round. So anyone that's not familiar with lightning round, what I'm going to go through is I'm going to give Tim about 9 random questions that I have written here. Some of them are easy, some are a little bit harder. Tim's not supposed to think. He's just going to go through. First thing comes off the top of his mind, he's going to go through and just spit it out very quickly.
It's like
All
you
right.
don't even know me.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All righty. Which is harder, creating hope or writing despair?
Ooh, hope.
Hope. Would you rather write by a glowing monitor or by candlelight?
Candlelight. Absolutely.
Candlelight. Okay,
As
awesome.
long
Yeah.
as I can actually see what I'm putting on the page.
Yeah, there's enough. We'll
The
give you
vibe, yeah, the vibe is. I want the vibe more. I hate glowing monitors. Ugh, screw that. Yeah.
if you could live in any fictional world outside of your own, which one would you pick?
Huh. That I kind of have to think for that one. Fictional world. Let's do a really quick look. I mean, cheap answer, but accurate. If I want richness of world, it's not quite a fictional world, but uh, fictionalized historical fiction. I don't know. Anyways, Taliesin, the Pendragon cycle. I really like that world. But if not that, then it would be Aragon, Christopher Paolini's Aragon world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jay said Australia.
Australia.
Australia. That was what I was thinking as well, my friend. I was thinking Australia. All right. What is your least favorite fantasy trope?
Ooh. There aren't many tropes that really upset me, despite how much I've read. It's just if it's done badly, it's done badly. But I don't care about repetition. I can read. I can watch the same movie 100 times and get something new out of it, despite remembering the whole dang thing. Like I actually don't get trope frustration. If it's done badly, it's annoying. But uh, is there a particular trope that gets done badly a lot? I don't, and especially in fantasy, I don't know. I don't know. Like maybe not the Dark Lord. I love Dark Lords. I love Chosen Ones. I love Motley Crues. Like
Mhm.
I don't know. I like tropes. Get out. I'm a reverse get off my lawn kind of guy. I really am. I'm like, give me more of this. Just do it well.
Yeah.
I'm the one begging for quality. Just do it well. That should be my trope. I don't like is people who can't write basic English and then try to tell me that their story is great. I'm like, I can't read it, so I don't care. There we go. That's my little rant.
That's so funny. Yeah, I think I agree with you to an extent on that. So my least favorite trope is the farm boy trope.
Fair.
Where
It does get overdone. Yeah.
I farm boy to chosen one. I'm fine with whatever to chosen one. Just pick something other than the farm boy.
Fair.
Is my
That is
thing.
very fair.
Pick anything else.
Yeah.
He could work in I don't know. Pick anything else. He could work in a bar. He could go through and be a server. I don't care. Just stop farm boy. That's all I gotta say. That's my
fair.
only thing. Like
That's fair.
sell goods. I don't know. Something. Pick anything else. There's so many other ideas you can grab from. Why does every single one have to be a farm boy? And that's my my least favorite one. But I agree. Just do it a little bit better. Just give it a twist. All right. So one word that best describes the father of Shadow and Death.
Ooh, one word.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I mean, I can't see. Yeah, no. That is tough. One word. This is harder than a pitch. I mean, pitches are already, most of the time. With this one, it's not hard to know the pitch. But for a single word, I mean, I could go with theme base, in which case it would be understanding, like we were talking about. I would want to go for something that captures. Oh, yeah. Calamity, maybe, but not quite. Not quite.
We can go with calamity
or downfall. Maybe downfall.
Downfall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Downfall.
I think that works.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. I think downfall works.
Yeah.
When you're reading, are you more of a fan of paperback, hardback, ebook, or audio?
Paperback ideal.
Now, mass market paperback or
either.
Matter?
No, yeah, I like small print, so that's fine for mass market. Actually, I really like mass markets, if I'm being honest.
That's my personal favorite. I like this super small book. Like if I can get all books like literally this size where I can fit in my back pocket, I am happy as a clam. Like,
when I started self-publishing and realized we can't go, like, especially on KDP, you can't go below a certain size. I just looked at it like, what the damn hell? What the heck is this? What is this? No, this is, I feel that's the only way in which I feel cheated. Otherwise, my experience self-publishing has been fantastic. But I want my books to look like a mass market.
Yeah. Love it.
I feel cheated.
I feel cheated. We gotta change it. All right, I got just a few more, 3 more for you, or 2 more, and then the one that I ask every single author, which I'm excited to hear from you.
I think
Your
I know which one that is. Yeah.
favorite book you read this year? What's your favorite one you read this year?
Oh, this year. I mean, so far, I can pretty much already declare it's going to be Bloodbound by Trinity Cunningham. Like
Awesome.
that's already a yeah. I'm uh yeah. Because other than that, I've read I read Jan Miklazevich's his I think I read both of his. Uh, he's got Eyes Wide Open and he has
Mhm.
The Devil in Mia, both really good horror.
No,
Um,
terrifying,
yeah,
terrifying.
like
Devil in Me
gritty,
was terrifying.
and you
It
will
was
remember certain
I
scenes permanently.
both of them, both those books. There's certain scenes that just they are permanently engraved in my skull, which I love it. And he told me the next one is even more intense, and I cannot wait.
I'm
I was like,
excited.
please, I need to be like, I want to be scared to walk outside my own house without a weapon. Please mess me
Yeah.
up. So yeah, I'm excited for his next one.
Yeah. So for doing what he set out to do, he gets top marks. And then I would say just for overall and and I'm usually again more fantasy. I like reading horror, but like just fantasy in general tends to be my home turf. And for that, I mean, Trinity is blowing it. Unless you would like Trinity, don't be one of these. Do not. You would have to really radically flop the ending and just descend in. Like it's not going to happen. This is a darn good book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I'm almost done. We'll find out during the next one. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make sure during the next live and be like, "What's your favorite book?" And you'll be like, "Ah."
Well.
Well, oh man, that's so funny. All right. What is the most underrated fantasy author that's currently writing right now?
Ooh, Trinity Cunningham. I mean, no. She's
That's
definitely up
not
there.
Trinity. Yeah, it's not Trinity.
Yeah, that's not Trinity. See, now I would have to go to what I've read recently as well. Underrated fantasy authors, especially ones I've read. You know what? I know exactly who. It would be A.C. Pritchard. This was a little novella length. It was technically 3 stories in one. Mortal Descent, book 1 of the Arcade Chronicles. I think he has a GoFund. He has a comic version coming out. So he has a GoFundMe or a comic something something. Like these were incredible stories. Like really, really, really shockingly good. Like just rich prose. Uh, I love the guy. I don't think he'd be offended by me saying this. Like just based on his online presence, you wouldn't expect it. I don't like
Mhm.
it's hard to explain why. It's just, he goofs it off, he has a lot of fun, but you would not expect this level of writing from this guy at all. Like it's just this blew me away. I was really, really genuinely impressed.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have to give it to him. I mean, Timothy Wolf, close as well for his, in particular for his,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, everyone talks about this, but to me, it doesn't get enough
It
praise.
it's
Like,
it
yeah,
shocked me
worth
how,
every second of
like,
hype.
how much I love that book with both duologies. I think it was 200 pages for both of them.
Mm,
And, like, I was absorbed into it. So, yeah, no, I cannot agree more. That story was fantastic.
yeah,
But I've not heard of AC Pritchard at all, to be
yeah,
honest. So, I put him down on my list. I'll go through and check him out, ASAP. Um,
yeah. Like,
awesome.
I don't know his plans for expanding it beyond what he's like the graphic novel version he's doing now, but these are short stories and they're written like top caliber. I mean, to me, he kind of hit me in the face out of nowhere in that sense. I did not. I hope that doesn't sound bad. It's just I did not see it
Mhm,
coming. I really was shocked by the quality. They are good, good, good stories. He knows what he's doing.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I've and I and I think you know what the last question is. I've read multiple indie authors that the same thing, they have 0 internet presence, and it's just like we just randomly talked, and they went through and said, "Hey, you wanna read my book?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." Haven't heard anything, and I went through and read some of these books, and they were mind blown. I'm like, "Man, you need to get on, like, you need to put yourself out there more on the social media side." I
Yeah.
get it's not fun when you're going through and seeing all the chaos when you look at the whole social media aspect. But if it's like just stay in this lane, because there's some people that can, like, they're killers out there that just have 0 presence right now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if we can get some presence on some of these people, it's like elevate the game. Like they're
Yeah.
so good. So good. Um All right, so let's jump into the last question. Now, take your time with this one, as much time as you need. But if the father of Shadow and Death had a theme song, what would it be?
Okay, I came prepared. I have one for all three of my books
Love it.
because yeah, like
Love it.
this I didn't even have to think that hard. I was like, oh yeah, this it actually came hilariously easy. So uh I'll start with the Fall of Sylvandria. This one has to be Pompeii by Bastille or Bastille or however you want to say it. So Pompeii, uh,
Mhm,
it fits on like 20 different levels. It really does. It fits. It fits in a spoilery kind of way for the entire series. So I won't say too much, but it fits. I love that song and it fits for the book.
mhm,
I might have even listened to it leading up to writing it, and it yeah, like very much fits. The next one is too easy, Skyfold, right? Uh,
mhm,
Come on, it has to be Skyfall by Adele.
mhm.
Everyone knows that's coming, and if anything, like I don't even like that song, but that's just it has to be right. And then for the Father of Shadow and Death, some people might appreciate the reference more than others, but uh, In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Awesome.
big time has to be the theme song.
Love it.
Okay, I'll tell you, you'll appreciate this. I don't think it spoils anything. I really don't. But the reason why is because I saw Phil Collins once tell the story of why he wrote that song. Because the myth behind the song was, like revenge, or not revenge, but shining a spotlight on this guy who he saw do this terrible thing. And those are the lyrics of the
Mhm.
song. In the Air Tonight is all about, I know what you did. I was there, I saw, and you're finally being brought to justice, right? Um, yeah. Gosh. And then he was years and years later, he was talking to someone on like a talk show about it, and he said, "Oh no, I was just mad at my ex-wife. We had just had a divorce, and I was bitter." And he wrote that song. I was like, I died laughing. It was just the funniest thing I've ever heard, and I've loved that. I already loved that song, and then I heard him say that, and I just lost it, and it sticks with me. And so on about 5 or 10 different levels, that song fits that book. And if
I
you've
love
read
it.
it, you know why.
I love it. All right. So, anyone that's not familiar, I've been asking that question to every single author that I've gone through and interviewed. And I created a Spotify playlist and I add every song from those books onto the Spotify list. It is amazing. I go through and listen to it all the time. Um, but it's all over the place. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun going through and listening to, and then connecting it with these different amazing conversations
Mm,
and amazing stories. So I'm going to add all three. It,
awesome.
so it's going to be fun. Just, I think I love Pompeii. Love that song, honestly. So as soon
It's
as
a
you said
great
that, I was like,
song.
obviously that's going on there. I love that song. And
Yep.
then I think In the Air Tonight is fantastic. And then Skyfall, obviously. So yeah, I love it. I'm gonna add all three on, and I'll put them in the description later on tonight. So anyone can jump in if you want to go through and listen to the full playlist. You can go through and jump on and listen to all those. So I'm excited. So I'm glad you're
Perfect.
prepared, man. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Appreciate it. It's funny. The first few times I went through and asked that question during interviews, I've gotten some random ones where it is so much fun because you're gonna go through and there's a few theme songs of like from
Mm,
TV shows. They were like, I don't know this TV show, and I'm like, perfect, because they didn't know where it was going. I was like, no, perfect, awesome, I love it.
yep.
One's the Darth Vader theme song, so like the Empire Strikes Back theme song. So
Yep.
it's like it makes me giggle going through and like listening to these songs. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yep.
So yeah, thank you so much for doing the lightning round. Those are always fun. I get a good laugh through all of those. I have a few more questions for you, specifically around where you're going from here. But before we do that, I like to go through and ask. I'm curious of if you've gone through and thought about this, and I feel like most people do. Is if you had all the money and the influence to go through and adapt your stories, what medium would you go through? Would it be an epic movie like
Mm,
Lord of the Rings, or would you want a a TV show where you can do a little bit more within these worlds and have um, more development? Or are you thinking something completely different? Like, oh no, this needs to be either a video game or a graphic novel kind of story. Have you gone through and thought about
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I think Fall of Sylvandria would actually be more a video game. I think Father of Shadow and Death would make a great movie. And then once the next Skyfold books have come out, and that is meant to be a longer series, shorter books in a long series, that one I would want to be a TV show. That would be my way of doing that. Yeah.
Awesome. So a little bit of all. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yes, I didn't have video games the first um going through and think about that, but I think it was like 2 interviews ago. Someone said a video game. I was like, oh, a lot of these would be fantastic as video games.
Yep. Yep.
Fantastic. So I have to sprinkle that in there and ask. So what kind of video game would it be? Would it be like a RPG kind of game, or would it be more of a oh man, what are those games where you could just like free roam and do missions? Like I was thinking Grand Theft Auto. Would you want something like that, or would you like to do something different? Have you gone through and thought about that?
It's tough. I mean, I'm not always the biggest fan, but Witcher, like in particular, Witcher 3 is pretty open, but it still has a central story that you more or less have to follow. There are a lot of open world stories, or sorry, open world games that still have very coherent stories. So I could see that working really well for especially like for Fall of Sylvandria, big time. Especially as now that I'm fleshing out the world with the next books, including this one, fleshing out the capital of Namrith. Um, yeah, but that's the point is you could play different characters and interact and move around, or you could follow the main character. There are basically three main characters in the series, and you could
Mhm.
follow them on their different arcs. Like, and there would be so much to do in the world, so many different settings, and every I try to introduce new darker creatures and elements in every new setting. So there's a lot to explore in this world. It would be very fun as an open, like Skyrim style, I think would
Yeah,
be, yeah, the dream.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
Um, you you mentioned multiple times you want to work on a book 3 in this universe. Is this going to be a another prequel type of story,
Mm.
or is this going to be a continuation? I'm curious where it's going to fit on the timeline.
So where things are going now, and this is basically the plan. Uh, so timeline wise, The Father of Shadow and Death is now out. I'm going to be writing a sequel to this. I even dropped the title in the book because I'm badass that way. It's in so that's coming. But that I have two ideas. I think I've at this point I'm so hooked on that idea that I'm probably going to do that first. I had something else in mind. Um, but anyway, so what I'll say is, so I have this. I have a book coming right after it, about the same length. That's the goal. That's
Mhm.
still prequel. So both of those books, this book and the sequel, which is going to be called A Plague of Fire and Ash. So
Love it. Love
yeah,
it. Love it.
that which was dropped very
Mhm.
intentionally near the end of the book, and it leads directly into what is coming. And that all takes place. Both of these books take place. Uh, well, this book takes place before the fall of Sylvandria, and then there's an event that happens, and a year passes in this book.
Mhm.
That's still at the very beginning of the book. Um, Technically 2 years, and within that gap, there's this period where the next book happens. A plague of
Mhm.
fire and ash, which is going to be dragon horror. So that's going to be fun. Like I'm really hooked on the idea. I know where it's going to be. I know some of the characters. You're going to see
Mhm.
Braddock again.
Mhm.
It's going to get fun. So part of me, I'm in that. Anyways, so that's coming, but I have to finish the sequel to this. So the Fall of Sylvandria is going to have two books to follow it. It's going to be a trilogy essentially.
Okay.
So aiming for two more books of 3 parts each, roughly the same size, same cover style, interior illustrations. same kind of vibe, following the same characters on that main story arc. So I'm almost done the sequel. So part two of the trilogy is almost done. That's what I'm working on right now. As of today, I'm back to working on it actively. And when I'm done that, then I either want to do a Plague of Fire and Ash, or I have another idea that branches off the sequel that I really want to do as well. I've already set the stage for it within the sequel, and it's going to branch off and introduce character. Anyways, that's fun because without spoilers, it introduces Jinn, like evil wish granting genie type
Mhm.
spirits, and lizard people for Timothy Wolf, and some other fun things coming. So those are my two. So I have two offshoots in the work: Plague of Fire and Ash, and that book, The Jinn of Lobregad. So those two, I hope both of those will happen in 2026 if I'm good. Very
That's
much the
awesome.
plan. Yeah. So the plan is next year I will have the sequel to The Falls of Andrea will come out. That's The Light of Mazara. Very close. I mean, if I'm good, I'll be done by early January. And then I have two more books planned as well for 2026. Yeah. So ultimately, this world is going to have, is that 5 books? Yeah. 5
Mhm.
books is the goal.
Wow.
Sorry, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 books. There we go. I do maths.
Well, so okay.
Yeah.
So 6 books.
Yeah.
Wow. And then 2 are gonna be out next year potentially.
Yeah.
So then
And then the
yeah,
third, the
yeah,
final
the
book will
final
come probably 2027.
that's awesome.
That might be hard. That's gonna be another chonker. So
Mhm.
that could probably, it'll be late 2027, early 2028 kind of thing. If
Wow.
I'm good. We'll see what happens.
No, I think that's awesome. Do
Yeah.
you have any other, like, ideas of writing stories outside of this universe once you're finished with this? Have you gone through and started thinking? Yeah.
Skyfall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Scott so I'm
Well,
s like, yeah, outside of what you already done with Skyfold, is that so that's gonna be its own series, and then
yeah.
the fall, is there another, like, sprinkling idea of, like, I'm really thinking about doing a Western romantasy book?
Beyond these, yeah. So I mean, once I'm done playing with, I might even do the next Skyfold next year
Mhm,
and push back like the Lobregad one maybe. One, yeah. So next year's flexible. I really want to get back into the
mhm.
Skyfold world. It's so much fun, far more
Yeah.
playful,
Mhm,
less dark. Uh, and I'm really like, you've read, so you know who
mhm,
Amden is.
mhm.
Amden is the main, Amden and Briannon, who you didn't meet. She comes in. The two of them are the main characters for the Skyfold series. Uh, so I really want to explore their story because I already wrote their chapter before writing this, their first chapter of the book. After that, I have just the slightest inkling of an idea. Um, yeah, and
Are
that's all
you
I
gonna
can say is it's that's
yeah.
so early and that's so
Mhm,
far off that it's very much something I want to build up to. I need to build the
mhm,
skills,
mhm.
and I want to have my writing at a certain level by the time I get there. That becomes like what follows these two series has to be. You know, you want to get better
Yeah.
with each iteration.
Are
So
you gonna try to lean in? And again, if you don't wanna talk about it yet, I understand. Are you wanting to lean into a completely different genre or type of story you wanna go through and tell with this inkling of an idea? Or you kinda wanna stick with the fantasy realm with it? I'm just
yeah, I think even with my exploration of horror here,
Mhm,
this was kind of a test for me too to
mhm,
see how comfortable I am in other genres and how far I want to stretch things. My home is definitely fantasy. I love it.
mhm,
Uh, and horror, I'll always have a soft spot for, and I think I had a lot of fun with it. So I want to
mhm.
keep doing it here and there, but I also have to be mindful of the toll it takes. This book, The Father Shadow and Death, took a lot out of me. Like that was a hard book to write. There were like I went in off of the high of Skyfold and being like, life is great, and then you write a book like this, and it's like I need a hug, like I need a vacation, So, yeah, it's tough. I think it would still be fantasy. I think the direction I'm going, um, it wouldn't be, yeah, it wouldn't be grim dark. but it would be a richer. It would be on the verge of historical fiction. Even more so, you've got like flintlock fantasy means I can tie in elements of historical periods, but I take liberties when in the world of the Fall of Sylvandria. I take very intentional liberties and I try to draw attention to them so it's not, you know. And I also throw in a lot like a heavy dose of sci-fi in that particular story. You don't get that in the Father of Shadow and Death. You're not meant to, but there are sci-fi elements that hold the world together. Uh, I would want. I would shy away from that in the future. It would be like very much epic, rich, dense fantasy. Not so much Tolkien as I mean, my go-to example would be something like Stephen R. Lawhead. I have that here, don't I? Yeah, I do. Yeah, Tally. This is my go-to example.
I've done.
Yeah, I guess I need to mirror it. Taliesin.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways, just really, really, rich, but easy to read. It's easy to follow, and just a really, really great job of building characters with lots of depth, but also in a rich setting, and it ties in Arthurian legend. I would want this to be in a purely fantasy world, but I would want it to have like, I would want to take, I think the things that I've really I hope done well in the Father of Shadow and Death and carry that forward in like a pure like anyways, yeah, like you've seen the first taste of where I want to go in the Father of Shadow and Death. That's what I'll say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited to keep continuing your stories because the ones that I've read have been fantastic and so much fun. And I feel like you are at the beginning of your long writing career because the fact that you keep pushing yourself going I don't want to just stick with my comfort and know what I like and what I'm good at and just continuously doing that. You're constantly trying to push yourself to telling a different type of story, leaning into different genres, which I really do appreciate as a reader because I get to see a different perspective of your writing and the way that you can go through and build these amazing worlds to then be able to blend a lot of things together. So I really, as a reader, really do appreciate it. Now,
it's why I'm not too committed to any far off plan. That's why I say the Inkling and I'm like maybe epic fantasy, but like you heard me. I want to do dragon horror next, and then I want to do jinns and lizard people. Like I'll get bored if I just do the same thing. Like that's not me. Yeah,
which I love.
It stops being fun if you can't experiment.
Right? And to go through and just like push yourself, being like, I want to do this. Now let's see if I can actually pull it off. To make a fantastic story. So I love it. I'm really curious because I'm a big goal-oriented guy. For you, do you have any goals for yourself? Now, it could be something that you're striving for a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, or by the end of your career. I'm just curious if there's any kind of long-term, short-term goals that you have set up for yourself as a writer, as a editor, or just as a human on this crazy globe that we're on.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, like you said, I'm at the point where everything in my life revolves around this. It felt like a fluke when it first really happened, because I started writing, but I was on the side of a marketing job, straight out of my writing program, and I was writing on the side, and then it kind of shifted from that to almost all at once editing paid and teaching the very thing I was just starting to do. But they brought me in as an editor, like teaching their main editing course because that I did have lots of preceding experience in. Anyway, so this fluke happened where now I teach, edit, write, judge for contests. It felt like a fluke, and I remember initially thinking, okay, I hope this lasts, but also if it doesn't, I have to be prepared, and have all options. And like you said earlier, not a lot of authors get to do this. It's a privilege. It's one I will fight for with everything in me because I want I will hold on to this as long as I can, or just keep reiterating, teaching falls off in the summer. I have to find things to replace it. I do. So far, I've adapted and just as much as I can for the foreseeable future, make my world revolve around this to keep honing the skills to the point where, like right now, writing brings in some money. It brings in a like not a bad amount, but nowhere near enough to live off of. I live off of my editing, off my story judging, and off my teaching, and that's about it. Like it works, it's enough. But like goal wise, I want to live off this
Hmm.
um, comfortably. So I need, continue building a repertoire of books, building up skills, stacking new skills. It's hard to make those kinds of long term goals because it keeps growing. I keep learning new things or learning there are new things out there that I might be able to do. And being me, I try them. Like audiobook narrating, I had no intention of ever doing that, ever, 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 ever. And there were absolutely hiccups first learning it, and that comes with any new skill. You have to brace for the ups and the downs, and now I'm in love with it. I can't stop. uh I just finished, like, the Father of Shadow and Death is set to come out in hopefully a few weeks. Like, so now I'm adding narrating. Narrate actually, audiobooks bring in more money than my books, so that was a big change, a big
Hmm.
step up. What the next step up looks like, I don't know, but to me it's just keep expanding and growing. Always, like, everything has to come back to making my books better so that eventually my book is the one you see on the shelves. Eventually mine, stands out, because I want to just keep honing and getting better until they're out there and people love them. The right people. You can't write for everyone. That's not the point. But you want to write in such a way that you have lots of people who genuinely adore your story and follow you on this journey. Do I have a plan beyond? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. None of this was planned. I got nothing. This was like 3 years ago. I would have 3.5, 4 years ago. I would have thought this was a pipe dream, or I don't know, Braddock like ambition. Let's call it that. I would have thought it was a delusional, delusional arrogance to even try to be an author. Um,
Yeah,
so where life takes me tomorrow, I don't know.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's all. So you have that flexibility of
yeah,
going through, but you're honed in on, hey, this is what I meant to do.
yeah.
I meant to go through and do this, and you're going to hold on to it for the whole ride, and I love it. Um, so last thing for you, and I really again appreciate you being on. This has been a fantastic conversation for anyone that's on the call or the interview, the call, during this phone call that we're having. No, anyone that's going through and that's on the live or watching the recap, and they're on the cuffs of trying to decide if they want to go through and pick up any of your books. Let's just say any of these amazing stories. What is going to be your just that pitch to get them to lean over to go through and give your writing a chance?
Ooh, it's tough too because I've written with enough variety that certain people will like some and not like others, and dependent. So it kind of depends on your genre interest. Um, what makes mine stand out that would push someone over the edge? Uh, that's a tough call because there's some really good books out there. I've thought about this a lot because how do you differentiate yourself in a flood of really incredible stories? Um, all I can tell you is we're all. I can tell you I come in with a a very unique story that has made for, I think, unique storytelling. My own life has taken me on a lot of twists and turns, some darker than others, some brighter than others. Um, if you like what you see with me, I think you'll like these stories. I can tell you that honestly. Check me out online. Check out my presence there. The things I talk about, the passion you see in me is real. Easy example: to find purpose in play is what I. So with your eyes, Tim. Yeah, I got my nice blue eyes. I don't know. No, but what you see is what you get with me, and it's not just branding, and it's not just the hat. It's when I say that I find purpose in this, I mean it. I mean, I try to craft stories, especially my more recent ones. The goal is to give people not just a sense of escape, which is part of the fun. Escapism, I'm all for. I'm all for the beauty of diving into these fantasy worlds, but there's also meant to be meaning and purpose. a sense of joy and a sense of hope that the world can be better. Sometimes that hope comes even from the darkest stories. Your question earlier about what's easier, hope or despair. Despair is very easy because it's easy to be cynical. Sometimes it's very hard to maintain hope in the darkest times. I try and weave that into a story like The Father, Shadow, and Death. That's the underlying principle too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that little thread of hope that you find and you hold on to with everything that you have. So if that sounds up your alley.
Awesome. Perfect. Tim, I really appreciate it, man. It has been a blast talking with you. We've spoken over the old interweb, but it's awesome going through and actually being able to have a virtual face-to-face conversation with you. It's been awesome.
Very nice to actually meet you.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone who's been on the live. Appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for your engagement. It was a lot of fun. Y'all cracking me up as always. And then for those who are watching the recap, I really do appreciate as well. I will have all of Tim's information in the description below. Please go through and check out his socials, his amazing YouTube channel as well, where he goes through and interviews people as well, and then his fantastic stories. So thank you very much again, and I hope everyone has a fantastic evening. And remember to stay overbooked. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good one.
Cheers, Al.
Bye.